Live.
We are live. Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Nerdy Up North podcast. It's a nerdy podcast hosted by Northern Nerds. I am one of your hosts, Sam.
And I'm the other host, Paul. And we are joined this week by our resident sci-fi nerd, shall we say. Like the resident Trekkie, resident anything to do with spaceships. The ginger goddess himself.
Yeah.
That is
I
good.
am a leaf on the wind.
I am a leaf on the wind. Yes. So yes, we are going to do a bit of a pet project that me and Goodwill's been pretty much begging to do for since he got his way with the Star Trek one, and he put the idea in my head to do a Firefly episode. And like I say, we're going to discuss the movie as well, Serenity. So we're going to do, because let's be honest, there's not much content out there for Firefly if we're just talking about the show, because it got fucked over. But we'll
Very much.
In the nicest way possible, it got fucked. But before we get into this week's episode, how are you guys? How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
How are you doing? Yeah, it's not been too bad. It's been quite an interesting few days. I caught up with a new movie. I know you watched it quite recently as well. That slasher movie, X.
X. Oh, wow.
Yes.
What do you think?
I didn't not like it, but I didn't like it, if that makes sense. I could watch it, but then I thought it's nothing new. It was nothing special. It was just thing. But before we start getting into shit like this, do you want to do the disclaimer before people come for us as saying films are shit and stuff?
Oh my god, yeah. So that's a good point, actually. Didn't even think of that. So everything discussed in tonight's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you want to discuss any topic from tonight's episode, please come and join us on the Facebook group and we can have an open discussion. What we won't have is anyone come for us and tell us our opinions are wrong. We can agree to disagree in fandoms. So let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behavior out of nerdism.
Did I get a hint of you singing it there? So might actually get you to sing it one week, so that would be quite interesting.
Yeah, so X was shit then.
Now
the disclaimer's out the way with.
I can't call it shit, because it wasn't a shit movie. It just wasn't anything new. I thought it was shocking for shocking's sake. It wasn't really, like I say, a movie I would say that broke new grounds or did anything different. The only thing I did find was really interesting was the actress who played the final girl was the old woman that was killing people as well, which blew my mind.
Spoiler alert!
God damn it, Paul!
If you didn't know by this prequel that's coming out, that's on you. Because the prequel's coming out, that actually tells you what happens in X. So.
No, I thought that was like it wasn't a twist in the movie. It was just like when you look at the casting afterwards, and because there was a few people that was in the cast, I was like, oh, I recognise her. Like the girl from the new Scream movie was in.
Yeah.
You saw the tits of the last for the Pitch Perfect, which was a pleasant surprise. Goodwill's going on to Google now to search this up.
Tits.
Don't know what you mean.
But yes.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was such a great feel because I really love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I actually got like loads of vibes from that. I thought the casting was great. The guy who was one of the main guys, the really rich one who was producing the whole film, he was hilarious. He actually gave me a lot of Nathan Fillion vibes. Like, I could have seen him playing that part.
And I know I think my wife, Nick, asked if it was Jeff, because originally she was, is that Jeff, not Jeff, what's he called? It was the guy out of Independence Day.
Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels. Yeah. Is that Jeff Daniels? I was getting, no, it's not, really not. Then you saw him running around in his tidy whities and you think, what the fuck? But yes.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. But like I say, it's just because of the vibes and the feels I got off it. I liked it.
I think because I recently watched Black Phone and then I watched that. Black Phone was a complete different like type of horror movie and was a little bit new and interesting. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was very, very dark and like I love a good ghost story as well. So the whole elements of that, I'm going from that to like a subtle horror to like in your face, like standing on nails and shit. I was like, nah, it was a bit too blunt force for my liking.
Yeah, it's like one was very cleverly done and one was just, here's the gore.
Yes.
Because I felt like Backbone was just such a clever film. Like, Ant didn't class it as a horror. He said it was more of a thriller. And I was like, it's just a perfect ghost story. Like, it was like The Changeling is one of my favorite ghost films. And I could put it up near that. Really enjoyed it. Actually, Black Woman was cool.
It had a very well, you know, with the writer was always going to have the same vibe, but it had a very like early It, not the new It, like the old type of feel to it. But it was almost like it was set in Derry, shall we say?
Yeah, well, Joe Hill and Stephen King, obviously, is father and son, but they have like intertwining universes. So it's not too far fetched that it could be intertwined within the Stephen King realm of stuff. It felt different to Stephen King for all it looked visually very similar. It just had such a different feel. The girl, the little sister, was fantastic.
Definitely. But
badass.
What about you, Goodwill? Have you seen anything interesting or been up to anything interesting?
I'm still in therapy from the Monsters trailer. There's something in 2022 could look like something from 2010 YouTube.
Oh, it didn't look like a YouTube video. It looks like a bad porno.
Yes.
Our taste in porno is obviously different, but I watched the trailer and I watched an analysis of it, and I think that was Rob. Universal didn't give an absolute toss about that, and they didn't want to throw anything again. And I'm pretty sure that Rob Zombie did the entire trailer on his own in iMovie.
Yeah.
And it just did not. That is not a film I will be eager to see.
No.
And when you're going back to the porno reference, so if you saw a search for Lily Monster porno, you wouldn't click on that link.
What's porn?
I would.
Exactly.
Thirsty up north.
But yeah, I think after the reaction, it was going to get a cinema release, but then after the reaction to the trailer, it's Netflix has took the rights up, and it's even been given the Blu-ray release date like quite early as well. So
I think Universal. They saw the trailer and they went to every avenue and just like, hi, bye.
Netflix is like, yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Give
Netflix
us the shit. We put Hubble Halloween on. Let's go.
They'll be like, yeah, we can raise our subscription price for this.
You can fuck off. I pay enough to them and I'm having problems with their bastard streaming site. That was a lot of swearing for a Netflix.
I tell you what though, it did its job. Everyone on the internet and the dog and even the dog were talking about it.
It's got everyone's attention for sure.
It might not be the best reaction, but I bet when it comes out, I know you're saying that you won't watch it, but I'll be curious. I'll watch it on Netflix.
I'll be dead curious.
I think we should have a viewing party where we all get together and just watch it and just absorb the badness.
All dressed as a character from the film, or from the TV series. That would be awesome.
Tall Paul as Herman Munster. Come on.
Some platforms for
I love that. I absolutely love it.
That's all right.
Brilliant.
Goodwill can be the grandpa.
I'll be grandpa.
No, I was going to say you
can be the wife. Can I be the wife?
You can be Eddie Munster.
I'll be Eddie Munster. That'll suit me down the ground. As long as I can dress as Eddie Munson.
We've all got the t-shirts now, so
that's true.
You mean the Nerdy Up North t-shirts? The Nerdy Up North cult t-shirts, Paul? Is that what you mean?
To be fair, though, they have got the large back in stock, so if anyone wants one.
Get yourself on.
EVP, guys.
But yes.
Join the cult.
So, I know we've had a little bit of chit-chat and a little bit of banter. We're going to try and do a little bit more of that, because I think that's what it's been missing the last few months as well. Just having a bit of relaxed chat, shall we say?
Yeah, because we're so dead set on this is the topic at hand. We forget that we can still talk to each other.
Right. Well, sometimes mute Goodwill from time to time, but that's for his own good.
Oh, Goodwill. He's like our biggest cheerleader. Like, our chat is so missing him tonight because he's sat right here.
Oh, it's only poor Charlotte chatting away, so.
I know. Hi, Charlotte.
Hello, Charlotte.
Okay.
But But yes, so this episode we are aiming to misbehave. We are looking to have a little bit of fun. And by my, I can't get the words out of my mouth now. My flowery bonnet. Oh, I've never said that right. Yeah. Like I say,
You're trying to say flowery bonnet.
that's what I tried to say. I couldn't get the words out.
He's got a pretty floral bonnet.
Flowery bonnet.
Hey.
No, I did try my best to get my hands on a Jane's hat as well, but they are expensive now on eBay. They used to be like 10 a dozen when you could get them when Firefly was originally out, but now they are a little bit expensive. But yes, we are going to talk about the space western that could have been, should have been, and what we got. Firefly. So be interesting.
What an intro.
Yes.
Firefly.
So it'd be quite interesting to know how he's found Firefly, because I know there was a lot of mistakes, a lot of bad decisions, shall we say, when it originally came out. So it kind of messed up, and I know I've already said that it fucked up what we got. But it's one of those shows that, a bit like Mallrats with Kevin Smith, that found its home on DVD.
Mm.
And that's why I found it, because I didn't see the original run. I think someone said to us, you need to watch this show, because we were talking about, I think it was Next Generation, and at the time, like say, I think it was doing a rerun on the BBC Two, and went, if you like Star Trek and you like sci-fi, pick this up. And I think I went to Music Zone in the town. It was when they used to sell them off, because HMV was the expensive one.
Yeah.
And Music Zone sold it for, I think it was $10.99. So I bought the full season of TV show for $10.99. What am I going to get myself in for? And when I watched it, I was like glued. And I know now binge watching is kind of the thing to do, but back then it wasn't. It was kind of like you watched a couple episodes. I think I smashed all was it 14 episodes?
14 episodes.
14 episodes in one weekend. I just could
Bloody
not
hell.
stop watching these, and they're not short episodes either. Like I know the pilot ones, they're hour and 40 minutes.
That's the standard 2-hour
That's-
pilot. Yeah, it's
yeah.
about an hour and 40, I think.
Yeah, and then the ones after was about 45 to 50-minute episodes.
Yeah.
So they weren't like they were American style, with them being long, but I was gripped from that first episode, and then when you finish watching, you think, I can't wait for season 2.
Are you still waiting?
Still waiting. And then you do your research on it and like see like why it happens and stuff, and it kind of breaks your heart a little bit, like of what went on and how it was treated, and I get it was at the time the most expensive TV show that was produced, like effects wise and end wise, so it was a huge gamble for them. But I think like his creator, I know his name doesn't get talked about in good words now, but I think he earned the chance to do more with it, with what came before. But yeah, like I say, I was devastated, but that was how my little introduction, how I found Firefly. So I'll be interested in like your two, if it was any similar or if it was any different.
Mine was way different. I'm going to put this out there, and I think this, and I hope this is not a running theme when Goodwill's on the show, because it happened on Star Trek, and it's going to happen on this one too. I'm not the biggest fan. Not that I'm not a fan, I'm just not the biggest fan. I have watched it, but probably once and years ago. Anth loves it. Anth watched it when it originally came out. He knew all the issues with it. He told, like, when we watched it, it was because he basically forced us into it, and he was saying, because I love Serenity. I went to the cinema to see Serenity. I own it on DVD. Like, I absolutely love that. And he was like, then why won't you watch the series? And I'm like, ugh, like it's so much time. But then he put it on, and it was a case of he had to try and find, because we were using a streaming service. He had to find the episodes because they were all out of order.
Yeah.
And it just became an absolute arseache that I couldn't be bothered with it anymore. So I was like, do you know what? If Serenity's all I've got, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Because
I thoroughly enjoyed that film.
Because I think with the streaming service that you talk about, how they do get the links and the set, they use them through the TV guide.
Yeah.
So how the original TV guide was set up, and that's how it basically views, and that's why the original TV guide, which we'll get into, kind of messed up. So your enjoyment of it probably was a factor, because it wasn't quite done as well as the show was done as well as it ever could be. Like, say, the
Yeah.
cast and everything was on point. It's just like, say, if some TV executives thought, yeah, we know better, we know how his TV show needs to work and stuff. So yeah, kind of messed that up. What about you, Goodwill?
Mine, I sort of remember it quite clearly. It was 2005, and at the time, the reimagined Battlestar Galactica was in season 2. It just finished season 1. Season 2 was coming out, and I was blown away by that show, acting, writing, and everything. But the visual effects really got to me. I thought, my God, this is for 2000 and 2003, 4, 5. The special effects were amazing. I was like, wow, this is a TV show. And someone said to me, wow, if you like this, you'd love Firefly, because the same company, before they did Battlestar, got their start on Firefly. They did Buffy, but they did Firefly. And I sort of did some reading on it, and I was like, oh my God, this is a Greek tragedy of a show, production-wise. Like, you look at it, and it's like, yeah, Fox just had no faith in it. By the way, Fox and sci-fi never, ever should mix. So, like you, Paul, I mean, I went to, I ironically went to Music Zone, where it was there for $10.99. And I was like, my God, an entire series for $10.99. Wow. And, it was pitched to me by a friend at college. It was basically, it's a Western with spaceships. And I was like, right, I'm automatically sold on that. And I watched the pilot, and I was like, yeah, I am really, I'm hooked on this. And I think I watched it over a space of 2-3 days, like you, Paul. You couldn't put it down. It's like a good book. And just the way it for me, Firefly came out at a time where standard science fiction shows like Star Trek, Stargate, and everything like that, they had their own way of doing things. Firefly was like, hi, we're going to go left field with this. We're going to do this. It's going to be funny. It's going to make you cry. The visual effects are like next generation. And I just thought, wow, all sci-fi shows should be like this. And I sort of understood then how Battlestar and shows going forward from that sort of took the hints from Firefly, that they could have a bit of comedy. They could have, they don't have to stick to the standard sci-fi tropes, and they almost sort of subverted them and took the piss out of them a bit as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry.
No, I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah, it was. I was hooked on it. And I at the time, it was the time, because I was in TV, media at the time, and I just appreciated the tiniest little details, the visual effects, the production quality, the sound, the music. It was a mix of Chinese and Western music. Yeah. And I was like, this is amazing.
That's a good point. Like, I wanted to discuss, because a lot of the sci-fi shows, or like as you mentioned, Star Trek and stuff, it only normally shows you from the perspective of like I know you do get like alien cultures and stuff like that, but it's like from Starfleet, which is a very, very Americanized, which I know they've got multicultural and stuff like that, but the way they act, the way they talk, the way they interact with people, even the language they use was very Americanized. Yeah. Firefly flipped that script, and it was like a big American. It's like I think the way they described it was the two superpowers had taken over, where China and America had kind of come as one, and both cultures had mixed together. And even when they're like swearing or saying stuff, they're saying stuff in Chinese, and like say and like even like some of the outfits, and it's very west meets east, but done so subtly well that it's not slapping you straight in the face, but you can tell. And that was something brand new for me. I was like, right, this is, if this was in the future and we did like start colonizing, taking over worlds and stuff, of course that would happen, because then it's not about being in America, it's about planet Earth colonizing things, so then taking over this world. So once you do that, them two powers would have to coexist.
Yeah.
Even like say there was slight Russian elements, but again the Russian elements was always the bad guys in Firefly, which will come about. But yeah, and there was something a little bit Star Wars rather than Star Trek in this field, just because it was dirty.
It was dirty, yeah, and there was it wasn't like Star Trek. It was way more like Star Wars because it was like, we're in space. We ain't going to explain anything about it.
Yeah.
We're not going to explain the ships, the details. We're in space. Have
Yeah.
fun. Bye.
Yeah.
And it just the way it was up, but the language for me was brilliant because it showed a future where, you know, if you look at Star Trek and Star Wars and everything like that in the future, they still all speak English. But if two superpowers meet, the languages are going to blend together. You know, the real world justification was, oh, well, these guys can swear on network television and it's okay because it's all Chinese.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant, but it was just it was done in a fluid way where it wasn't like, haha, he said a Chinese. And it's just like, there was no subtitles or anything like that. It was just like, yeah, this is the future. This is, you know, people will amalgamate. Like our language is probably taken from other languages over the years, 500 years into the future. What say that might not happen?
Exactly. I'll tell you.
Yes.
I'll be here. I'm going to live forever if you didn't know.
Yeah, it's been like say a bit of a journey in like with everything that like say that's went on with this show, because the fan base has kind of kept it alive and kept it growing throughout. Like that's one of the things that why we got Serenity as well, because of the fan base. I don't think if the fans weren't as passionate, and I know we did an episode not too long ago about cult classics, and this kind of kept us on point with the cult classics, because it is the mere definition of a cult TV show that Firefly is still talked about and still revered to this day. If it wasn't for the fans getting on board, and new fans as well. I know they're talking about on Disney Plus rebooting it or doing something with Firefly.
That was actually going to be one of my questions. Was within the world of reboots and redo overs, and you know, how comes it's not been done yet?
I think it's a very, almost like even more than Star Trek, it's a very precious series and it's a very precious universe for a lot of fans. Like even when it was aired, there was 2 separate campaigns to keep it afloat. And then when it was cancelled by Fox, they were trying to field it off to UPN. I mean, Serenity, if you go on Disney Plus now, you won't find Serenity because Serenity was produced by Universal. Fox
it's on Netflix. Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah. Fox had nothing to do with it. That's how little faith they had. And I think any murmurs of reboots over the years, they've sort of like, it's somewhere like Star Wars. You can't reboot this because the universe is so precious and so wonderful that you can't just say, well, this is the new Mal Reynolds and this is the new, and it's just like, you can't.
No. I just wondered why, just in the world that we live in now, that nothing, even with the original cast, like why hasn't anything happened with it? Given because there's a lot of love behind this show, and I never understood that.
I think originally it was the cost. I think that was the thing, because I think at the time it was the first show where it was costing it over $1 million per episode to make, and to do it the same way, because Josh Whedon, like I say, at the time, he was a kid when he didn't get his way. The toys came out the pram.
Right.
So when they cancelled Firefly, he made sure all the cast got little parts and little extras in shows like Angel and Buffy. Like all them, like if you watch Buffy and Angel, like towards the final seasons, the cast of Firefly come into it with major roles.
Right.
And I think after that he kind of did it for the fans, where he did Serenity, and when you watch Serenity, it's very much a full stop on a lot of the stories.
Oh, absolutely.
And even though there was elements, and I know when we're going to break it down and talk about, like, say, the episode and stuff, there's a lot more into the verse and things that you didn't really get answers to, that you kind of still wait and do. I know they brought out the comic. The comic does very, very well. Like, they keep, like, doing lots of different issues. But, like, the things that always leave the questions, like, what was Shepherd Book's backstory? Like, how did he know so much about the things he knew? The Blue Hand people, like, say, was always an open question. Like, what elements did they play in? But I think the important story that they wanted to tell was the Reavers. And that was in, like, say, episode 1. And then in Serenity, we got that story, and we got the story of River. So we knew why she thing, and like, say, in Serenity, you got that where she says, "I'm okay now." So I think that's why the fans, well, as a show, it couldn't have. After Serenity, you couldn't have picked the show back up. That
Right.
nothing would have worked the same way. But
it was an alternate. Sorry.
Yeah, if they did an episode, like a season 2 before Serenity, then yes, it could have worked. But I think the money side, because at the time there wasn't things like Netflix, there wasn't like Prime that could pick up shows like this and not kind of save them, because a lot of studios were looking quick and fast, like properties that were going to make. And let's be honest, when Firefly first hit the TV shows, it flopped big style. The ratings were horrendous, especially with, like, say, the names on board, like Josh Whedon, and the money that they pumped into it. It flopped, but that was down to more, as we've said, the Fox handling. Like, I think the first episode they showed was the train job, so you weren't introduced to the characters and because the first episode, we might as well talk about it a bit more now. The first episode, the pilot, is probably one of the best first episodes in TV shows I've ever seen.
It's as ways pilot as pilots go, it is very strong, and it is very highly reviewed, because it does a lot, and Josh Whedon did a lot with it to subvert the cliches of pilots. And it was, I can compare it to the Expanse. That pilot, it was sort of like, "Hi, we're in this year. We, humans did this. Right, see ya, bye." And Firefly did that. They were like, "Yeah, it's, the 26th century, humans colonized. See ya." And that's how it went. And it just went on and just told these people's stories. It set up a universe without setting up a universe.
It made you fall in love with the cast as well, so easily and naturally. That was the thing I felt. But the opening always stands, like, to my mind. I can picture it scene for scene, because it's so memorable, and you get a feel of these characters. But it's clever because, like, the opening's based in the Battle of Serenity, like Serenity Valley, and you see Mal as this happy-go-lucky, eternal optimist, hopeful, and just basically, like, not a badass, but, like, taking charge. And that's the Mal, the taking charge you see throughout the show. But you get to see the man break and lose hope and lose his faith in everything. He lost it in humanity, his faith in, like, say, in God, because he had the cross on him at that time. And he, during that battle and that war, where he was just saying, like, if we hold, we can make a big difference. And the people he was holding for turned their back on him and just went, "No, we're laying down arms." And he was like, "But we were winning." And then seeing everyone, like, dropping, and then you introduced to Zoe as well, the second in command, and how loyal and steadfast. Like she is the badass of the show. She is ultimately, like, out of everyone, like Jane and all them, you would not fuck with Zoe. Zoe is the scariest person on that ship, because she would kill you without even a second's thought. But like, say, and that, I think it's only about 4 or 5 minutes of an opening, and it, like, you see a man break. It's heartbreaking just to see it. And then you introduce to the cast, like the crew of Serenity after that, and how they basically now like kind of like Robin Hood type characters, robbing from the rich and not giving to the poor, but like giving to the people who need it and try and make money and just trying to fly, try and survive. And that's the Western aspect where they're like kind of like outlaws, and you always cheer for the outlaws. That's the thing. You always kind of cheer. But the Mal now you meet after that first is a completely different person. He is not. He's got a glimmer, but he's not got the same hope. If that makes sense.
There's a bit after obviously they established the Battle of Serenity Valley, and they're at the derelict, breaking into the safe, aren't they? And obviously the cruiser is coming after them, so they do the crybaby and they get back onto the ship, and Jane says to Mal, we won. And as Mal's walking away, he just says under his voice, yeah, we won. And it's sort of like the war ended, but the war never ended for him.
Yeah.
And just in that 5-10 minutes of opening, you can see a man go from, like Paul said, happy-go-lucky. He's a soldier. He's a soldier first, and to have his faith, and everything shattered. He never got over that, even years after. And just that 5-10 minutes sets up Mal perfectly.
Yeah, and I think that'll be a perfect point to talk about the cast as well, because I think this is one of the things that a lot of shows do get wrong, or play certain roles in certain parts. Again, I might sound like I'm blowing smoke up the show's arse, because I am a genuine fan of the show. I don't know many casts that has been cast as perfect as this as well. Like, say, from like all the actors down, like everyone suited their roles and knew their roles as well as they had. And again, I know we're talking like this is like a 7-8 season show. We only got 14 episodes, but we actually got to know these people so well in these 14 episodes that it was a little bit magic. But if you look at the cast, like, again, everyone knows I'm a big Nathan Fillion fan. Like, say, I would hug the guy, I would kiss the guy if he was here. But
get on the podcast.
Yes, Alan Tudyk, who again is so amazing in anything that he's in, but he lent, like, say, the comedy aspect to this. But his portrayal of Wash was, like, say, as I said, that one of the heartbeats, because like I can't say that one person was the heart of the show, because all of them played the parts, but and if you didn't have all the different elements, the wouldn't work. But Alan Tudyk is absolutely amazing. Like Gina,
the ginger that wears Hawaiian shirts, Paul. He's perfect.
Yes, but he still gets shit, so that's why we give you shit, so you don't like get above your station. So just
oh,
you can be our pilot.
Okay, Jane.
Yes. Talking about
so
Jane.
accurate.
Jane. I never thought I would like a Baldwin.
But he's not a Baldwin,
He's
though,
not
is he?
He's
not a Baldwin. He's another Baldwin.
Stewie's still related somehow, but yes, Adam Baldwin playing Jane Cobb as universally recognised as one of the most lovable oaths that you'll ever meet. Like Gina Torres playing Zoe is just phenomenal, and she was phenomenal in Buffy as well. No, it wasn't Buffy, in Angel, when she played a bad guy in that.
Is it the same? It is the same person from Serenity, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. There's no
cast changes.
No, I didn't think there was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, she was Lawrence Fishburne's wife. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Like say, I always get her. I can't pronounce this name. Marina
Baratheon.
Yes, who's went on to do some great things in like Deadpool. She was in Gotham for a while as well. But
she'd be beautiful.
Yeah,
she'd be beautiful.
And my biggest crush of them all, Jules State. I absolutely adore her. And
who doesn't, man?
She was beautiful.
She's adorable. I'm looking at a picture right now. This is why my face is all glowing. And I'm looking at a picture of her right now, and she's wearing a t-shirt that says "The Otters Strike Back." She is just an absolute sweetheart. But she is in the show, but not. I can't say for the show's sake because I really can't remember her that well. But in the film, I had such a soft spot for her.
Yes, but she was like the little girl next door that you just always had the little crush on as well. But like I said, great Ron Glass's Shepherd book, who added a little bit because I remember him as from the Disney show. What was it called? The angel guy or something about, and he used to play the
Oh
floating
my
head.
gosh, the Guardian,
The Guardian Angel film, TV show on the Disney.
That's going to annoy the pants offers.
But he was the floating head on that, so that was.
Yes, he was.
Summer Glow, who, like I say, is River Tam, was utter perfection.
Summer Glau was joked at the time as being like the curse of science fiction because nearly every show that she appeared in was cancelled. So she was in, obviously, Firefly, she was in Chuck, Sarah Connor Chronicles, and then she appeared in Big Bang Theory where people were like, yeah, right, okay, that's done with. I think that's the only thing that survived that she's ever featured in.
This was only one episode as well, though, bless her.
I know, yeah.
And like I said, Sean Mose, who played Simon Tam, who irritated the fuck out of me. The only one that actually irritated us, but I think that was his whole purpose of being in the show at times.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm trying to find out this bloody show because it's annoying the pants office.
And again, Teen Angel, that was the one. And
bloody hell.
And again, it gave us the amazing Mark Sheppard, who went on to play Crowley in Supernatural.
He's been in so much.
That's just blew my mind when I've seen him on the cast list. And Christina Hendricks as well.
Oh, yes, you blew. Yes, Mal's wife. She was very boobalicious in that show as well. So, yes.
That woman is boobalicious. She is stunning.
Yes. So, with
Anywho.
But yeah, so with the Fox mixing up the order, basically, that's how they played it out. They basically didn't give us the pilot when they should have, and that introduced us, like say, to the flow of the ship and how Mal had changed, and basically he does soften a little bit, but he never loses that soldier's edge all the way through the kind of the show. And there's certain elements that, like throughout this whole season that we got, like he does everything a hero should, but not in the right way, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
he in the pilot, it sort of shows. This was another way that they always subverted like cliches. You know, like the standoff when the agent takes River hostage in the cargo hold, and he's like, "Oh, you move," blah, 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 and Mal just walks in. Blows his head off and just keeps on walking.
Such an Indiana Jones moment, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It was just like, there was no dramatic pause. He just walked in, bang, chuck him out, let's go. And the way that was just Mal. That's just how he played. It was faster. He didn't have time for the big dramatic standoffs or anything like that.
Yeah.
Off you go.
But he would always put himself and the Firefly first, if that makes sense. The Serenity, the ship that is the second best looking spaceship in all of sci-fi, in my opinion. Like I say, I'll never say anything's more beautiful than the Falcon. That is my baby.
God, no. God, no.
You came in that thing?
But yes, but he always kind of put the ship first, and that like I say, that was quite apparent in the season. Even when the agent first shows his hand, and he's saying, "Oh, Simon Tang, you're under arrest," and Mal realizes like, "Oh shit, it's not us because for smuggling," and he kind of says, "Oh, is there a reward?" So he's like thinking, "Great, I'm going to get some money out of this." But then as soon as he did the big standoff, and poor Kaylee gets shot in the gut. And then you see the softer side of Mal come out because he realizes how much he does actually care about his crew. And Simon shows his hand and does a brave move by saying, "I'll fix her if you help me get away." And that was like, because throughout this show, Simon is portrayed as a bit of a coward. Well, he's from money. He's not from that type of world where all the others are from, but it was like always a gutsy type of move, I thought, and it showed the strength that Simon probably would have showed more in the seasons to come and what we got in, like say, in Serenity the movie. But like that element and that dynamic between Mal and Simon kind of like played like to and through all the way through the season. But I always quite like that chemistry between them because Mal kind of looks down at Simon, but Simon also looks down at Mal. But they're all coming from different viewpoints and different reasons for it.
Do you not think that also, as much as they're looking down on each other, they're kind of like respecting it in a way, or even being jealous of, Mal probably being jealous of his upbringing, him being jealous of the fact that Mal's so brave and he's not. There's like elements that they would love to take from each other.
They despise each other, but respect each other, but like each other and admire each other in their own unique dynamic.
Definitely. I would like to say that's the type of tension and stuff that you wanted to see and wanted to see more of and wanted to see that grow. And the only again bad things that we didn't get, which was always quite what Josh Whedon did in previous shows, and what he did, like saying like Avengers as well. He always give us great bad guys or big bads. We didn't get that in Firefly, because it didn't really get there or where it was leading to. So it was always a shame that we didn't get to see what we could have got or what big bads could have been interesting.
He foresaw 7 seasons, and you can see that, like the blue, the men with the blue hands.
Yeah,
that was teased, but there was the Reavers that was teased. The men with the blue hands that was teased. There was other, I forget his name, who had the space station who tortured Mal.
Yes.
Bosch. You had these, and Badger. I mean, Badger's the quark of Firefly, and they were all teased through this season. And I think they really would have been fleshed out in subsequent. I know the Reavers were, but the other ones would. And I found them quite interesting, and I just think that season 1, it was dealt with a rough hand. Season 1, but I sort of agree. There wasn't one overarching villain. It was just establishing a universe of villains.
Yeah.
But everyone is a crook. Honor among thieves is nothing in this verse.
Yeah. Well, they proved that when they went seeing Constance, like they had a good deal, and she still ended up trying to shoot fucking Mal.
I believe she's trying to kill me. Oh, what was it? I believe she's going to shoot me again. Here's a novel idea. Why don't we shoot first?
But it shows the desperation they were in there as well. And like throughout the episodes, though, like each episode you got a different feel. And like say, I know we've talked a lot about the pilot, but the second episode, again, the train job, that was number 2. Is that right?
Train job is number 2.
Yeah.
In the original order, Fox. I actually looked at the airing order that they had on the Fox channel in America. My God, the pilot was the last episode aired.
Yes. Because they took it out completely.
Why did it? Can you explain to us why?
Yeah, this is what I read, and like see if it's the same as what Goodwill found out, because I know Goodwill's in the industry, so he probably has insider knowledge.
I wish.
But yeah, I heard that when the films, like, because they filmed the pilot, everyone loved it, and then the commission filmed a few episodes. Went, we can't broadcast the pilot because there's no action. Like I said, there was very little action. It was all story based. It was all character driven. They went, we need something to start this off with a punch. We're doing an expensive show. We're doing sci-fi. We need to set off with an action piece. And the train job was, like, say, it was an old fashioned Western style where it
was a Western heist, wasn't it?
Heist movie.
Yeah.
And so it starts off with a kick and it starts off with a punch, and it is interesting, and it starts off, and you get the feel of the bad guy, like as Goodwill said, but the guy was called Ninska, I believe. Ninska, if that's right, if I'm saying it right. And it brought off this really like sadistic, evil Russian type bad guy where he kind of rich and he's got these mercenaries that would go out and do his work for him. And that was the tone that they wanted to set it off with. And thought, right, if we can get Firefly, but what they've done in this episode, you don't get to know the cast because you got to know the cast in the last episode. So you kind of like jumped in and like, these are the people that you're supposed to love, and like they're making these choices and decisions and you don't know why they're making them. Like,
my God.
it was a disaster. Like I said earlier, Fox should never ever handle anything science fiction, because the executives, even to this day, they cancelled. They had the Orville, Seth MacFarlane's Orville. They cancelled that because they had no.
Fox had it.
Yeah, it was.
They
it was aired on
hate Seth
Fox.
MacFarlane.
Yeah, but the executives have no grasp of science fiction, and when it came to this, they said to them, "We will air the train job," exactly like Paul said, because it needs action, it needs this. But Joss Whedon was like, "Well, the characters aren't established, the universe isn't established, the stories, nothing is established. Yeah, but it's got pew pew pew, bang bang bang," and it was like, "Oh, okay," but everything was shot out of order, and they kept. It was so annoying when you read about it. They kept saying to Joss Whedon, "You need to lighten the tone of the show because it's too dark." But then they would say, "You need to have more guns and more violence." And he was like, "Okay, so you don't want it to be, you don't want it dark, but you want more violence." And then when they promoted the show, if you've ever seen them, it'll make your eyes cringe. They promoted Firefly as an offbeat comedy to the theme to a Smash Mouth song.
Right.
And it was just, if anything, if you asked, did Fox understand Firefly, you show them that, because they had no fucking clue, and it infuriates me. And when you look at the running order, it was like 2, 4, 5, and then 8, 3, 6, and it's like, why? How could anyone in 2002 and 2003 follow what the hell was going on?
Yeah.
Not just that, just each week as well, they would change the day it was on. So it started on Tuesday nights.
Oh my god.
Then in 2 weeks' time, it was on a Thursday. Then by the 4th or 5th week, they put it in the graveyard shift on Friday night.
The death slot.
Yeah.
They generally just did not give a shit, did they?
There was at the time there was science fiction fatigue, because, like I said, you had established science fiction shows. You had Star Trek and everything, but they were starting to be moved to the death slots as well. But Firefly, they had, like Star Wars, like Futurama, and like all this blah blah. They had an excellent show. They just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And
that was the death nail for it.
Yeah, but like say when we go back to the actual show and think about like the elements that they brought in, like the train job, after you've watched the first one, has more of an impact, because like say when they go to the town and you see that the people are suffering and the things they are looking to steal from the train, they realise it's going to be causing them more grief, so they kind of go back and break the agreement with Niska, who is, like say, when you look at like villains or bad guys in TV shows, was sinister. He was up there with I'm not going to compare him to any Star Trek, but I would put him up there with like I would say Trinity Killer.
Okay.
He had the possibility of being that leaving a mark that much, which we found off later in the season when like say when he comes reintroduced again, like the elements and like the bonds and stuff. But the thing I love about this episode, and it's just a short scene, and it shows you, because it's so different to what you expect. It's so different to what you've seen before, where Miles giving the speech about I'm going to give you the money back. You're going to take it back to your employer. You're going to tell him we didn't do the job. There's nothing, and it's finished with. This is over. And the guy just turns around saying, "Keep the money. It's going to pay for your funeral." And starting this speech saying how Ninchka was going to kill him. And Mal just takes a sigh and boots him in the jet engine. And you just get shocked, because you're like, heroes don't do that. Like, say, heroes take like the better way. But in that realization that this isn't going to be the usual hero story, this is going to be a bit different. This is about survival. That's what Serenity, Firefly, the show is about. It's about surviving in space and surviving in this unknown, untamed land. And then for him to turn around to this person who's kneeling down next and say, "Right, going to give the same speech," and the guy just goes, yeah, money paid back, deal's done, happy to go, because he doesn't want to get booted in the engine as well. It was so perfectly timed and so played out, and like I said, no one flinched, no one batted an eyelid, and it was just like, this is how shit gets done in the verse. And I was like, this is going to be good. This is leading up to something a bit, I've not seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
And that was the point, because like I say, I loved the pilot. The pilot felt like a long movie, you know. You thought, but it's still, you thought this is going to be very Star Trek-y. This is going to take elements of Star Wars in there. There's a lovable rogue. This made it different, and that was the big surprise to me. And I was like, shit, this is going to be like say my jam for very many years to come. And I was always a little bit gutted, but
well and truly brown coats now.
Yes, well and truly brown coats. But yeah, so I'm interested to know, because I know, Sam, you've only seen it the once. I know you're not that big of a fan, and hopefully we're selling it to you a bit more now.
You very much are.
What are your favourite episodes of the 14 that we got? So we'll go with Goodwill. Give Sammy time to think.
Let me get Google back up.
I sort of, I only watched the entire series a few weeks ago, and I've just rewatched my favourite episodes today in lieu of appearing on the wonderful podcast. The pilot, 100% the pilot, because it's one of the best pilots I've ever seen. The Our Mrs. Reynolds. I think,
is that for storytelling reason, or is it just pervy reason?
Yes, you degenerate. Yes, for story. But again, it's an episode that has, it has comedy in it, a lot of comedy. The interplay between the characters is brilliant. Even in the first 2 minutes of the cold open with Mal and Jane, oh, you don't want to see her, she's mighty ugly. How can you say that? And we get one of the best lines in the show. I swear on my pretty floral bonnet that I will lend you.
And you think Mal's going to get shot by Jane, but he offers to swap his big massive gun that he loves for his wife.
Yeah. But you have some lovely interplay between River and Shepherd Buck.
Yes.
Which is beautiful as well. The other episodes, I'll tell you what, I have a little guitar here.
Oh, wow.
I'll try and help you out. I'm not going to promise much, dude.
The Hero of Canton.
Yes.
I think is a beautiful episode because we get to see Jane in a different light.
Yes.
And there's a lovely song that's played in the bar. And I will only play the first... I will say the first verse of this song.
Okay.
Let me see if you know it. Jane, the man they call Jane, he robbed from the rich and he gave to the poor. Stood up for the man and he gave them what for. Our love for him now ain't hard to explain. The hero of Canton, the man they call Jane.
Yes.
And that's why I never sing. So, the Hero of Canton.
Sorry, but well done. Well done. That was brilliant.
Yeah, the Hero of Canton, because all the way through up until that episode in Firefly, you see Jane as a bit of an oaf, a bit of a thug. He's the muscle of Firefly, and this shows him in a different light. This shows that he landed on this planet and he was there to rob money. And it went south, and he ended up dumping it, and he thought nothing of it, and he fled. And then when he goes back, he's like, "Oh, there's a statue of him," and it's like he's a hero to these people. They don't understand what happened. They just saw someone dumping 50,000 credits into their houses and their yards, and it's a wonderful effort because he doesn't like the fame or anything like that at first, but obviously he gets free whiskey and ladies of the night, shall we say, companions, unauthorized companions, and at the end, it's very touching. At the end of I won't spoil it for Sammy, but the end of the episode is quite touching, and you see a different side of this muscle man, this thug, and you think, oh, he's a well-rounded character in his own way.
There's got to be a few more dimensions, but I am going to spoil it for Sammy. I don't give a fuck because I absolutely love it. I love the ending of that episode when it's like the realization it's not about him being a hero. It's like it's the legend that keeps the Mudders going, and it doesn't need to be as true as the story is. It's what gets them up and through that each day, and it's just a beautiful sign. And that realization from Jane just grows him a little bit. He's like a tree. He's like Groot. He grows a little bit that time, But it's so,
That's sweet.
and I think Adam Baldwin as well. Like he doesn't like in the show. As you said, he's the muscle. He's like say the eye candy as well, and he was great in Chuck. But
Yeah.
I think like say that was the episode where you saw more from him, and you got to see more from him since then as well in the show. Because you were always wondering, is he going to turn his back? Is he going to betray, or when's the betrayal going to happen? We probably would have seen that happen like in a future episode or stuff, but the loyalty was always there as well. But I think that's where you kind of he become more than just the muscle for the Serenity. He realizes he's got a bit larger purpose. But yeah, that was a good episode. My favorite episode. I'll come back to Sammy in a second, just because it leads in from that. It's the episode afterwards. This one,
Nice.
Out of Gas, and it's so well done because nothing really much happens, but a lot happens. If that makes sense.
It's sort of a backstory episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's a flashback episode, but not a flashback episode. And yeah, that is a very good choice. It's a lovely episode.
Yeah. But just for anyone who hasn't seen it, just to give you like a lowdown of what happens on this episode. Basically, there's an explosion on the ship. It starts off, like I said, because with some of the episodes, what they do, you get the almost the end at the beginning, and then it goes back over like what's happened to get there. So we get Mal on the floor, with Serenity shutting down, life support's going out and stuff. And basically, it goes back through and it tells different stories, like how Kaylee got on the ship, and like I say, she was basically banging the mechanic who was who was there, and she tells, like I say, the mechanic that he was basically, you're not doing this right, you're not fixing this right, and the Mal hires her. It shows you how Wash becomes on the ship when he's got this ridiculous mustache and
a Hawaiian shirt.
And a Hawaiian shirt, of course. It shows you how, like I say, they find Serenity and how Mal picks Serenity over the other ships and stuff, and how Jane comes on it, which is in hilarity where Mal just offers him more money and his own bunk, and he betrays the person he's with to join the crew. But
did you sorry to interrupt, did you like in regards to the ship, did you enjoy the twist at the end?
Yes,
I enjoyed that.
Yes,
I thought that was very touching. That,
but they're pretty much done the piss take out with Star Wars, like saying not the Last Jedi, the newest. I can't remember the name of it now. So it was the Last Jedi. What's the last three? The three Jedi's called. The three films: Last Skywalker,
Force Awakens,
Last
Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, Force Awakens. They've done the joke when they're running towards another ship and that blows up. Then they go, "Oh, we'll go to that hunk of junk," and it's Millennium Falcon. So basically, it was the Force Awakens stealing the joke from Firefly. But yeah, and like say, basically, is they're in space, basically on the peripheral to stay out the way of the man. And something blows in the ship on the engine that can't be fixed. So, and they're just like, we can't get anywhere. There's nowhere close. So he sends two pods out. One with Zoe who's hurt, and they don't know how badly she's hurt. With Wash and no, it wasn't Honora. It was Simon and River on that one, and then with and Honora was Jane and Kaylee, and both because they had two pods sent in both directions to try and get as far as they can to try and see who can get help. And he sends a signal because Wash was being a dick about this episode as well, because he got jealous about Mal and Zoe, which again comes to one of my other favourite episodes we'll talk about in a few seconds as well. Is basically Mal's staying with the ship because he doesn't want to let Serenity go. He's saying, I'll send a signal if someone comes, we'll get a fix. And it's just one little part that's took the ship down. And ship comes out of nowhere, picks up the signal, and someone tries to rob Mal, shoots him, and tries to leave him for dead. But Mal, being the badass he is, gets up and forces them off the ship. And the guy turns around and says, if it was the other way around, you'd have done the same. And he says quite clearly, it is the other way around now. I've got my gun on you, and you can say I haven't done the same. And then it's basically Mal almost dying, like say, because the stomach wound to get to the ship and get it fixed. and then he passes out, and you think, oh shit, is that going to be the end? But no, he wakes up in the med bay, and basically all the crews came back because Zoe woke up and forced them all to. So because Zoe broke this captain rule, he survived. But it was such a nice play of telling you the backstory, but not shoving it down your throat. And it was such a well done and well thought out episode that it didn't need to be all bangs and whistles. A little bit like Phone Booth with Colin Farrell set in a place where it's quite minimal, but a lot of stuff going on around it that you don't even need to have to see. And it was just well played out and well acted. And like Nathan Fillion, like I say again, not going to suck his cock off or anything to say how good he was, but he was absolutely brilliant in that episode.
It was a foreshadowed.
Wish you could.
It was a foreshadowed episode in the pilot as well, because when they land on Persephone, Kaylee says we need a new compressor because if we don't fix it, it's going to blow and we'll be dead. You know, we'll be dead in the water. Oh, we'll just make sure it doesn't blow. Well, guess what, Mal? It did.
Yeah.
But it you know this episode harks back to the Western themes. That Firefly is so heavily influenced on, because if you think the versus the frontiers, the Western frontiers of the United States, these people, you couldn't go for spares, you couldn't go for help, and you didn't know whoever you came across in the frontier wouldn't just pull a gun out on you and kill you and loot you. And this is retelling the frontier stories in space, and it's beautiful. I mean, the justification for, you know, the West, like some of the outer rim colonies where, you know, they don't have any technology. So yeah, they would make do with what they've got. They would make do with wood and horses and farming and stuff. So yeah, if you've got no technology, you'd revert back to the earliest phase before an industrial revolution, which would be the Western frontiers.
Definitely. And leaning on to what would be my second pick would be War Stories. The banter between Wash and Mal, because like I say, Wash has got the green-eyed devil with him, and like I say, his relationship with Zoe, because he's saying if Captain says jump, you jump. When I say jump, and he goes, well, you're not my captain, you're my husband. And they're going on a mission that should be relatively simple, just to like say trade some medical supplies. And our old enemy from episode 2 makes an appearance, Niska, and he's got his mercenaries back, and he captures Wash and Mal, and he's torturing them. And with Mal being, like I say, a former soldier, and Wash not being in that situation before, you think they're just arguing like cats and dogs, like over, like say, how Mal runs the ship, and how like I say, how he's affects his relationship with Zoe and stuff. But it's not. It's Mal keeping Wash alive by keeping him angry, keeping him like alert, because they've been electrocuted. And like you see them being electrocuted, and like after they've been hit by the electric current, they go back to bickering like little schoolgirls. And then when Wash is like starting to fade away, you can see the panic, and like see because Mal knows, and Mal's really starting to stress and think, shit, we might lose Wash here. So he's like, you see that element there. And then the whole, when Zoe goes to pick up say to trade, they're collecting all the money that they've got, and like say all the bounties that like they've got on the ship, and they take the Niska and like saying, well, these two are worth a lot of money for me, this will not buy both people, this will only buy one. And you think she's going to have a hard time choosing, and she just goes, yep, that one, I'll have Wash. And then
it's that same old cliche, isn't it? Like with the standoff in the other episode where he just blows his brains out. It's that, you know, oh, you have to pick one, and you just Wash.
And he's like, and she's like, sorry, I didn't. Have you got a bit of a speech? And he's just like, oh, are you sure? He's getting up. That's the one I want. So, and Wash realizes what's happening. He's like, we can't leave Mal. Mal's the only reason I'm alive because of what he did. And then, like I say, the horrific part as well, it goes all Reservoir Dogs on him as well, but he chops off his ear and says, "Here, the money wasn't quite enough. You give us too much money. Here's a part of Malcolm Reynolds to go with him, just to try and antagonize her into reacting as well, because he doesn't want to give any of them away. He wants to kill them all, but he wants a reason to do it, because he's a businessman at the end of the day." But the fact that the ship, after they go back, they start armoring up and, like say, getting the pieces together to go and get Mal back. But Mal, being the, like say, the badass he is, he's kind of like broke the bonds and escaped a little bit. But there's two things that we find out about this episode that's absolutely brilliantly done. We find out how scary River is with a gun, where she's not even looking and she takes out about 5 or 6 people, like just blindfolded, blown away, and Kaylee's looks terrified of her because she realizes River Tam is a weapon.
Yeah.
It's the way she says it to Kaylee at the end afterwards, because she smiles. She goes, "Ain't no power in the verse that could stop me."
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, shit.
and how much Mal needs his crew as well, because when he's getting tortured, he's fighting the person that was torturing him, and it looks like there's going to be Mal was going to win, and so he then pull up with the guns and say, "Oh, this is something the captain's got to do," and he goes, "No, it fucking well." He doesn't. He's going, no, it doesn't. Help it! And it's like, shoot him. So they'll get okay, and they all pull out the guns and shoot the guy who's torturing him. It was just like,
it's the way he says it, because it's like she's like, "Leave him. This is something that he has to do on his own." And all you hear in the because it's done in the distance, it's just like, "No, it isn't." Oh, okay. Boom, 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 boom. This episode, yeah, this is. I mean, they're all great episodes. This one, 2 things about this episode. One, the torture scene. When I first saw Casino Royale in the cinema, this scene was heavily in my mind when Bond's being tortured. You know, and he's like, I've got an itch on my balls, just a little to the left. And second, really, it shows how much Mal needs his crew and how much he relies on his crew. And it reminds me of the Goonies. Bang! Got it in before Paul. Got the Goonies reference. I'm done.
Wow.
I don't actually think I was going to get a Goonies reference into this one.
Wow.
Did it for you. Have that one for free.
Yes. So after all the shit you've given me in previous episodes, the one in the chat always saying that he's the one that Goonies us. That's what.
That's amazing.
I'm going to turn him into a Goonies meme now.
He got you?
Yes. And what about you, Sam? I know you haven't seen it for a while.
I couldn't even tell you.
So would you say your favourite is Serenity?
It's the film.
So when was the last time you saw the movie?
Oh, it was only a couple of years ago. I used to watch it all the time. Like, all the time. We all know my addiction when it comes to things and how I watched Pitch Perfect every day for a year. I probably did the same with this as well. And I couldn't explain to you why I loved it so much. But for a film that I knew about Firefly, don't get us wrong, I knew about it. I hadn't watched it. I still didn't feel that I needed to watch it because I felt there was an already established cast and I felt something like a connection towards them straight away. I knew who these people were. Didn't need explaining to us. I didn't need to watch a series in order to explain it to us. And that's how brilliant that film is.
Yeah. I love the way the movie starts, though. Like, say, with this, with it giving the explanation of how, because you think you're getting it live, that this is how Simon got River out, but it's not. It's basically the operative that's watching back, like, the video, and we know from that point that this isn't just going to be, like I say, a standard bounty hunter or standard, like I say there. And I've forgotten the name, because did you ever find out his name in the movie, or was it just known as the operative?
He was just the opposite, because he was a high up government operative. The actor, brilliant. His deliverance of his lines all the way through. He is so, and I think villains like that are the most terrifying because they are so deeply believe in their cause. They are passionate.
Yeah.
And that opening scene where he goes, "Do you know what your sin is?" And I just thought that whole scene was brilliant, and the tension when he's just knelt down with that sword.
Yeah.
He's just like, he's gonna fall, he's gonna fall, and he just does it. And he just at the end he just wipes off his this. Yes, we're gonna need this, and we're gonna need that. And I'm like, oh, wow.
I think why it worked as well because he was the complete opposite of what Mal was at the start. Because Mal didn't have any belief, any hope. And the operative had his beliefs, and he believed them so strongly that he was going to fulfill his purpose. And with his conversations with Mal as well, was brilliant done. When he was asking about after he basically killed all of all of Mal's friends and people who helped the Firefly went out, and basically he just said, "No, I'm a monster. That I'm not fit for the perfect world. I'm like you. I shouldn't. I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to help build it." And it was this is deep and dark, and say for such a bright like a sci-fi, you don't expect it to go that dark. Because you thought the Reavers was going to be the scariest thing, but they weren't. He was the scariest thing in that movie. But I love
the scene where he murders the children. He's like, "You murder children?" He's like, "I do." He's like, that's how deeply he believes in this cause.
It's
literally do anything.
It's the Anthony Hopkins style acting of talking sophisticated and being utterly terrifying in doing so. He took lessons from Hannibal Lecter on that because it was the calmness and how he spoke. It came across terrifying. But Chiwetel Ejiofor is just an amazing actor. He's such an amazing actor.
The one part that I feel that it was out of character was just before the big space battle, where it's just you see Serenity fly out of the nebula. And he breaks character because he goes, "The bastard's not even altering course." That didn't need to be there. It detracted from the character's cool confidence.
Do you not think it's because he'd been pushed by Mal to that point?
Possibly.
That's what it brings out in him.
Yeah, possibly.
Because the callback in that movie is when if they first meet each other, and he says, "Don't try and annoy me, Captain. You're not gonna irritate us or anything like that." And Honora says, "Oh, spend some time with him, and he'll change your mind." So it was kind of foreshadowing that Mal was going to piss him off at one point. So
yeah, the opening after the establishment, Earth that was, and then obviously we see Simon. We see Simon, take River away. The opening single shot from the cockpit of Serenity, when the making planet fall, that was beautifully done, and it's seamless. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the interior of Serenity is a one-on-one replica of how it should be, as in you see ships where it's you've got this this bridge and it doesn't fit into how it should be, like Millennium Falcon. Everyone always says Millennium Falcon, the inside shouldn't fit the outside, it shouldn't fit. This was Joss Whedon did it in a way where this would fit. All you'd have to do is put a shell on it. Right. And what they did, they had two sound stages next to each other. So you had one which was the upper deck, which was the cockpit, the quarters, the dining room. And then you had another soundstage, which was the cargo hold, the infirmary, and it was literally it was linked into one piece. And in the movie, you can see when they go down from the cockpit and they're in the dining room, she's legging it to the engine room, when he goes and then he walks back, and there's that scene just before they go downstairs, and the camera turns from Simon to thing. That's the transition, and it's so effortlessly done. You think, my God, this is one single take. The production values that they had on Firefly, they carried over to Serenity, and I really appreciated that, because it was so it gives you that impression this is an actual ship. This is an old rundown but fully functional ship that people live in. It was that patina, that grot, the rust, and it was just so beautifully done. That opening for me is just fantastic all the way through.
What I love about this movie as well, again, you don't really get to see this that much. It was a movie with balls with the decisions it made. Because to kill off a character like Wash the way he was, especially in the situation, that's a hard decision because he's a popular character, and you must know there's no comeback to kill that off because the show doesn't really work as well. Or if you replace him, it's like when they replace certain characters in Community, the TV show. It didn't quite have the same feel. It didn't like work the same. This again, they must have known it was like this was it. This was done for Serenity. Like after they weren't going to plan it and to kill off Shepherd Book without knowing more about his backstory as well. That's ballsy moves, especially entertainment wise, like because it leaves so many open questions and things that you wanted to know about, and even like say when like they've said in like previous episodes of the show when Mal goes from was it in the movie you said it? I might be getting me crosswise here. Where he goes, "You're going to have to tell me about like how you know so much about this," and he goes, "No, I don't think I have to."
That's in one of the Firefly episodes,
right?
Because obviously it's after he's been injured, hasn't he? And he has that card and he gets special preferential medical treatment. But it was the way. I mean, like movies like this, I see Serenity as an open-ended full stop to the franchise.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you get big movies and stuff like that, one of the established characters is going to die. It happened in Star Wars. It happened in Star Trek. And you think, oh well, Shepherd Book. He was killed by the Alliance and this. And the way that Wash dies is such it's a shock, and it just hits you because he's just like, I'm a leaf on the way, and you think he's going to come up with like some sort of quip. He's like, I'm a leaf, impaled.
Yeah.
And the way that Zoe reacts to that, you sort of like, when you first see that, you're on her level with that because you're like, Wash, Wash, and Mal is like that soldier. He's just like, no, we've got to go. We have got to go. Yes, it's happened. We have got to go. And it was such a shock, but brilliantly well done. And I was devastated when that happened.
Yeah, I was like, for me, for not knowing the character previously, that still hits like a ton of bricks. But that's how brilliant they were written, because I give a shit within that hour and a bit. I generally give a shit about these people. So when that happened, and it comes out of nowhere, because you've taken, like, you've already had your moment, and then you kind of just relaxing, and then bang, and it hits you straight in the gut, same as him. But yeah, that's how much I generally did give a shit about these characters, because they are so well written to where for someone who hadn't seen the series, still got to know them.
Yeah.
Just like what you did in the series.
And the movie gave us so much fan service, like the interaction between Mal and Honora. Like, say when at the end, and he says, "Oh, we'll get you back to the planet," because I'm not too sure. And you can see a smile on his face. He's like, "No, that's an interesting answer." Just knowing, because that relationship was bubbling through, and that would have been amazing to watch leading through the shows and the episodes, and seeing like the ups and downs. Like we got a little bit of a hint when, like say, Goodwill's episode where Mal's wife kind of thing, and the jealousy on Nonora's face, and later on in the series when
the one where they're defending the companions,
the companion whorehouse type thing, it was like
that
old
was,
Western.
I felt for her for that one.
Yeah, that was quite a good way to do it. But and they give Simon Cayley that relationship got its point where everyone wanted them to. Yeah, so they built up the tension. But it was nice that they got that element, and he said that as well, that the only regret if he did pass away would be that he wasn't with her, and it was like fuck, and she was like, "Fuck this, I'm gonna live."
It was, the bit in the bar earlier on in the movie where she's just like, "Ain't nothing that tweak mine that don't run on batteries," and the way Mal just goes, "Oh God, I can't know that," and Jane just goes, "I could stand here a little bit more." But I'm like coming from the series and then watching the movie, I'm more on Mal's side, because like Kaylee's the daughter of Mal, so you're like, I understand more that you can't know that because that's how she's portrayed to the audience, and like if you watch the movie, people would be like, "No, the Jane side." It was going back to the Inara though. I don't know if you knew this, Paul. Did you hear what was planned for Inara if the series would continue?
No, go on.
And this was hinted all the way through the series apparently, and I only noticed this when I ran it through the other week. She had a terminal illness.
All right.
And they were dropping hints all the way through the first series, and apparently Joss Whedon wanted to play that she had this terminal illness.
Why she was off the planet, and everyone.
That's why she was driving herself away, because she didn't want to hurt him any more than he'd already been hurt. And I couldn't believe that. I never heard that until I.
That would have been that would have been a special storyline. That I'm gutted we didn't get that, because that would have played, because that makes total sense. How she left, like, say the companions like off when she went off world, so she's kind of like going on adventures now. So she's living a life more now because she hasn't got much longer left.
There was an episode where she had a health check, and it was like an annual companion health check, and something said, and she doesn't go into it. But apparently the facial expressions are there, and that was like one of the first major hints that something was wrong with her.
Right. Oh, wow.
And then obviously they played off the tension between her and Mal as like, it's a clash of cultures, it's a clash of he thinks companions are the W word.
Yeah.
Which they are, but obviously it's legitimate. But it's actually, she's driving that wedge between them because she knows that she's ill.
Yeah.
And in order to save him from the heartbreak and being hurt any more than he was, she would just fade away. She would just leave.
Right. Oh,
and
wow.
It's devastating when you hear what he had planned, and then you watch it again. You can pick it up and you're like, oh my God, yeah, that's what she was trying to do. She was eliminating herself from his life slowly, and then towards the end of the first season, I'm leaving.
Yeah, you mentioned as well in the chat earlier that when we were planning this, that you had some news. Was that the news that you got, or is there something else that you've got for us there, Goodwill? I'm putting you on the spot now.
Oh, the little bit of a tidbit. I don't know if you know this. It might blow your mind.
It's only tiny, so don't worry.
That's what she said. Firefly takes place in the same universe as Aliens.
Really?
In the first episode, when Mal goes to the AA gun, on the computer interface, there is a Wayland Yutani logo.
Bullshit.
It's from Wayland Yutani.
Right, I'm gonna have to Google that.
who made what was it? The Sulk, the Nostromo?
The Nostradamus, was it?
Nostrom, I think Nostradamus.
No, I can never say it right. Now Sam's googling like a motherfucker. There, you can see.
Yeah. apparently Joss Whedon had some involvement in Alien, and it was a nod to that. But they've said potentially, because doesn't Alien take place in the 22nd century?
Oh, Kev will be the expert on that.
Something like that. And this is obviously Firefly is the 26th, and they said it's the same universe.
Wow.
Well, let's find out, shall we?
That would be quite interesting.
Well, yeah.
X-Mox versus Mal.
Yeah. I mean, Firefly.
He's right, it is.
Wayland Yutani.
Wow.
Firefly, the Serenity also features in the pilot episode for the reimagined Battlestar Galactica as well. You see Serenity fly past.
Prometheus and Alien set in the same universe.
I know one of the spoilers. Someone said that in one of the episodes, it's got the Bill and Ted.
It's got the phone booth from Bill and Ted in that rich guy's house as well. I love that. Little nods like that.
Yeah,
no, he's absolutely right. It says that Firefly and Prometheus, it's saying Prometheus exist in the same universe, and it's to do with the Wayland Yutani Easter egg.
Because Joss Whedon had involvement in I think it was Aliens at the time.
Because I know they're always talking about doing an Aliens TV show. Was this the secret show that they were planning? There was lovely little. The one thing I always loved, I think it was in Serenity.
I think it's after they've been to Miranda.
Mm-hmm.
And Wash says something like, "Oh, this is all sounds a bit science fiction, doesn't it?" And Zoe just goes, "You live on a spaceship, honey." I thought, wow, to have such self-awareness of that.
Yeah.
That is
I absolutely loved seeing Alan Tudyk in this because it was just right off the back of Dodgeball.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And like I totally fell in love with Pirate Steve. So to see him play someone who didn't talk like a pirate, but was a pirate kind of like
it was probably more of a pirate than he ever was in his life.
Yes, it was just so much fun, and it's been lovely watching Alan's career just get bigger and brighter because honestly, he made that film for us. I know everyone loves Mal because of how charismatic he is and such, but it was really Alan Tudyk who like makes that film for us. Like I go back for him and I go back to mourn him.
You instantly fall in love with him in the pilot where he's just like, Wash, how's it looking? Yes. And he's in the cockpit playing with the dinosaurs and he's like, yes, this is a fertile land and we will call it this land. I should think we should call it your grave. Curse your son with inevitable betrayal. Mine is an evil laugh. And that for me, I was just like, yeah, this is my favorite character now. The other bit where he's like, Wash, when they're trying to run away from the Reapers, and he's just like, Wash, what are you doing? He's like, I don't mean to alarm anyone, but I think we're being followed. It's just the way, but because he always said like behind the scenes, when they said, Wash, get us out of it, he always used to press the same 3 buttons. So if you watch every episode, there's like, because they used for Firefly, they used like bits of a Boeing 737.
Mm-hmm.
So there's Boeing whatever they're called, steering thing. And he said, I always press the same thing. And they're like, why did you do that? Because those are the everything buttons. And he's like, all I do is that. That's all I do. And there's a bit in I loved him so much because he injected that much needed humor. But in Serenity,
mm-hmm.
they all got that bit of humor. I mean, they did all the way through Firefly, but it's like, the bit where Jane and Mal have the argument in Serenity,
mm-hmm.
and Mal goes, Jane's saying something, and he's like, blah, 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 and Mal goes, do you want to run this ship? Yes. Well,
you can't. You can't.
It's just so beautifully done.
Yeah, the humor in it is brilliant, but it does not outweigh the action in the film. The action is. Oh, it is. It's like watching someone dance.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful,
especially when River's fighting. Like when you see her, like battling the Reavers, and when she's like saves Simon towards the end. Because she's a trained ballerina, isn't she?
She is, yes.
Yes. So you see the movements and the flow and everything. It's so violent but smooth and like when you see
elegant.
And the fighting in the bar. It's one of the best bar fight scenes that you ever see.
100%.
When she kicks that bottle, that was amazing. You just boom.
Seeing Adam Baldwin's balls and squeezing. I winced at that part. I was like, oh, I know it's fake, but it's gotta hurt. But yeah. So I know you pretty much answered this question as well, but who was your favourite characters in the show?
Do you want to go, Sammy?
Well, I was just thinking to myself, because I'm like, yes, Wash is a brilliant character, but every single one of them has something I love about them. Zoe being the absolute badass that she is. Honestly, like you could put her as a captain and think nothing of it.
Mm-hmm.
Jane and his brutal honesty. Just every single one of them just has something that you can you can really gravitate and connect. Yes, absolutely. But Wash will always, just because of the film aspect, like I mourn him all the time. Like it's really bad. So Wash.
I'm the same with you, Sammy. Like Wash for me is I love every single character, even some of the sub characters like Badger and stuff like that. I love every single one of them. I think they're all well done. They're all well rounded.
Yeah.
Well written.
Well written.
Wash,
so good written.
Yeah. Wash he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm a good pilot, and the way he walks, the way he behaves, the way what he wears, he doesn't give a shit. And you can sort of understand why someone like Zoe would be attracted to someone like that, because he's, out of everything, he's genuine.
Yeah.
And he is passionate in his own unique way. He's passionate about flying. He's passionate about Zoe. He fiercely loves Zoe and will, defend. And that's why he's so jealous of Mal, because they've got that depth of a relationship that Wash so desperately wants.
Yeah.
But it's every character in the show and the movie, Mr. Universe.
Yes.
He only had 2 scenes mainly. And even he's so brilliantly. I don't think there's any character that I don't like.
There was no wasted space. I think that's what you get with a lot of TV shows, a lot of things.
Absolutely.
There's filler episodes, but even if you do get a filler episode, it's just there to build on like the character aspect, or to build on a relationship, or to move someone forward. That's the thing that you get with this. There's lots. I know it's going to sound really weird, but there's a lot of movement in the show.
Yes.
And that's like with a lot of things. There's nothing stagnates. There's nothing that just stays the same. Like there's never the same episode. I know, like say, we might have got different ones going like afterwards. We can never say it, but again, I have to go for the obvious, because, like say, my favorite character in Star Wars was Han Solo. So the Han Solo of this show was Mal, and let's not debate it. If Mal was in Star Wars, he would have shot first. They wouldn't have had to re-edited that.
Oh no, I don't think so at all.
Mal was an amalgamation of nearly all of Harrison Ford's characters. I
see every single one of them in him.
He was Logan, Indiana Jones, Han Solo.
Absolutely.
He was them all.
But he still had himself. So for all you could see the different aspects of Harrison Ford's characters, there was still something, a cheeky little something in there that's Mal. And it's Mal.
And he was scary though as well, because he used to have the look. Like you can tell, like Nathan Fillion done this so well, because he's playful, he's engaging, he's endearing. But when shit turns sideways, his eyes go black and like darkness, and you think, this is a man like knows no limits. There's nothing he wouldn't have done to protect his and his mine, as he would say.
Yeah,
he's fiercely loyal in his own way.
When someone's not scared of death, they become the scariest person in the world.
And you saw that in the episode that you were on about with when they were trying to take the friend home. You saw in that flashback scene when they're in the battle, and he's laughing in the face of death. He when you don't fear death, when someone does not fear death, they are the most terrifying people, because they've got nothing to lose. They've got nothing to lose, and he never. I mean, in Serenity, it's shown that he volunteered to join the war. Was it the Separatists?
I can't remember the names of them, but
the Independents.
The Independents.
I was going to say the Separatists. Isn't that bloody Star Wars? I watched Clone Wars.
There's a lot of similarities between the two, like say the elements there, but I think with sci-fi you can't help but have them elements.
Oh, good God, no, yeah, and everyone's influenced by everyone, aren't they?
But I tell you the one thing though, out of all the sci-fi shows, Serenity got 100% spot on. No sound in space. The only science fiction show to ever portray no sound in space.
Very well. No, that's a good point. Like I say, when you go back and watch it, and I hope a lot of people will do, but
I think I will.
Yeah, it's one of them things where I went back when I watched the DVD. I'm not one of these that watches all the extras or watches like the in-depth information. I just normally watch and enjoy. With this, I did watch it because you did got quite a lot of extras on the DVD. The one thing that did actually break my heart a little bit, and it still gets us now, is they tell you when because as Goodwill said, they filmed episodes out of order and stuff. So when they got told that the show was cancelled, it was on episode 12, I think. It was the one where 12, yeah. It was basically where Mal's old war friend comes back, and he's selling like body parts and stuff and trying to do inside training, and he dies, and they have a funeral scene, and they get told that they're basically the show's been cancelled and there's not going to be any more. So when he says they filmed that scene, it was like they were burying the show.
Oh.
It was so sad, and the voiceover as well. You know, when you can't run, you walk. When you can't walk, you get someone to carry you. And you could see there was a tonal shift. And it worked well for the story, but there was even in the body language and everyone, there was a tonal shift, and you knew this is the episode they were told.
That is heartbreaking.
It was ending. The thing is, when shows are cancelled like this, it's literally one phone call at 2 PM. You could be doing something. You know, you could be at the gym. Oh, hi, yeah, it's getting cancelled. It's wrapping up in 8 weeks. See ya, bye.
The thing is, with certain shows, they expect it. They totally fully, like The Office, for example. Their first series is 6 episodes long, and they fully expected to be cancelled because they knew the English one was loved. They knew that everyone had such a respect for it that nobody was going to love this American one. So they just fully expect it, but you don't expect it from a show that has pumped so much money into it. Just imagine if they did that to Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
If this was, here's a question for you. If Firefly aired if it never aired and it aired this year, and
totally different,
it would have been. Do you think it would have been picked up by?
Absolutely.
Say like it went on Fox now, and they cancelled. They did what they did back then. They messed it about. They did it, and it got cancelled. Do you think? I mean, I know my answer. Do you think it would be immediately picked up by
Absolutely.
I don't know, because for me, it's the cost aspect. Because as I said, a lot of with shows now, it's elements fair enough. I know how Brooklyn Nine-Nine was saved, but that is a very cost-effective show.
Yeah.
Take cost out of it, right? So say VFX nowadays, it's not as it's expensive, but not as expensive as it was back then. I think Firefly was $1 million an episode.
But TV is so different now. TV is money-wise is revenue the same as movies.
Yeah.
Because of how we're in a completely different era of media. So I personally think it would be picked up by someone. Absolutely.
I don't think it originally would be on syndicated TV. It would be a streaming service, 100%.
Not at all.
It would have been. It would have been Hulu. In America, it would have been Hulu. I mean, the Firefly. I mean, I'll go back to Fox can handle sci-fi. If you look at the Orville by Seth MacFarlane, yes, Fox hates Seth MacFarlane, but
very much
he brings in the money.
Yep.
He brings it in. Same with The Simpsons. He brings in the money, and he had 2 seasons of the Orville on Fox, and they were going to cancel it. And Seth went, right, screw you, went to Hulu, and Hulu were like, yeah, absolutely, we will do this. And they shoveled way more money than Fox would have done. And if you listen to anyone who watches it now, they're like, my God, why was it not on here to start with? Because it's visually better, it's tonally better, it's quality. And I think syndicated TV, when it comes to sci-fi, it can't run on it anymore.
No. Not with the production value you get nowadays. No. I mean, look at HBO Max.
Yeah.
HBO. I mean, HBO's always had an app. It's always had a streaming service. It's just because of how well it's done, like The Sopranos, Sex and the City, Game of Thrones. These are huge TV shows that eventually got them to where they are now, where they are streaming megabook movies on there and still making the money to continue forward. They're not breaking. It's crazy how media is now.
But I think as well, if the rumours are true and there's going to be a rebooted Firefly, they need to learn, especially this year, they need to learn from shows that are on streaming services.
Absolutely.
You're not on TV anymore.
Yeah.
So you are not bound by the 40 to 45 minute runtime. And if you look at Stranger Things, that has benefited hugely from the mindset changing of, oh crap, guys, we need an hour. No, sod that. Hour and 40, 2 hours and 5, an hour and 50 minutes. If that story is good and is tight, run it for as long as that show
Goodwill
needs to be. But it's
Totally
took them.
agree with them.
It's been annoying because that is the one thing for the last 10 years that has annoyed me, and it's only in the last year or two where they've finally realised, shit, we don't have to have it as a tight 45-minute. We could expand. We can have these extra scenes and stuff like that. And the other thing I love as well, sorry to detract, but Stranger Things is still getting, season 4 is still getting visual updates as it is uploaded onto Netflix right now.
It's fucking crazy.
The patching shows.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Duffers are going, yeah, we got season 5. Oh, I didn't like the visuals in episode 3, season 4. Yeah, we'll go back and we'll upload that with a better visual effect.
Yeah.
And the runtime for me, if Disney bring back Firefly, do what they've done with Orville, have it as an hour and 5. If the episode warrants an hour and 5 or an hour and 20, do it. As long as it doesn't filler, and as long as it's tight and it merits it.
But here's the big question now. Actually, I think this is one that Sam was getting back to earlier as well at the start. If they are rebooting Firefly, how would you do it? Is it going to be new cast or role cast?
I think this is one for you to answer.
Same story or different story of the verse? Because the verse could be impactful. I would even stay away from the Firefly name. Just call the new season the verse and have stories of the verse.
So, like big franchise. So, I'm probably going to sound like a broken record here. Look at Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
You have got an entire universe. I mean, I'll come back to another show as well. Star Trek. It's not about one ship and one crew. It is about the world.
Mm-hmm.
It is about that time. 23rd, 24th, whatever. Mm-hmm. It is about that world that the people love. The world. Yes, they love the characters, but they want to know more about the world. Do what they've done. Do a Battlestar Galactica. They had 2 spin-offs, and one was nothing to do with the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Firefly needs to do the same thing. People want to know a lot about the universe.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know the world. Don't reboot. Set it 20 years? Set it 20 years after the events, and have a different ship. Mm-hmm. Don't even mention Mal Reynolds. Don't even mention Serenity or anything like that.
So you just want something completely new, but set within the universe. World. Now, see, for me, and I don't know if I've got the right because I haven't watched the series as well as used to have, but I think for people of yourselves who have, you got shafted basically out of a series. You got majorly shafted. I feel that they should allow the original cast to give it even just one last go, and even just pass the baton to someone else, or even move on to a different story. But at least give them, I don't know, respect that they should have gotten.
I agree. Closure. I agree with you completely. The only thing is to get the cast back now. It's going to be difficult because, as you said, they killed off 2 of the big ones originally.
Well, one of them is actually passed away as well.
Yeah. Like I said, get Malcolm Reynolds. Like say, it's going to cost a fortune. The last I can't remember the name, but who plays Honora, who's like big in Deadpool and stuff at the moment.
Moran.
Yep. Her fees are going to go above and beyond, so it won't be cheap. But what I would like, again, a little bit like it's probably like a mixture of both. Is I'm going to be sitting on the fence a little bit. My arse is going to get all close, like, a bit of both. So a different telling, but have one-off big special episodes where they go off to a planet and now they run into Kaylee working on a ship, or they go off to a space station and Zoe's like head of security. They run into like Simon or River doing their own thing, or they run into Jane. He's basically got his own ship and his own crew, and he's a badass, so he's a bad guy. Or
he is the bad guy.
Or have
I know you're on about fees though. But I
was going to say as well, but have where they go to Mal's resting place. I would even kill off him. Like have him have the legend.
Yeah.
So the legend of Mal in the verse.
I know you say, Nathan Fillion wouldn't come back for the fees.
But is he still doing the Rookie, or is that being cancelled?
Cancelled.
Cancelled.
Maybe I'll come back then.
Every role, because obviously Firefly was his first leading role. Every role he has done after that, he is always compared to Firefly. And he said in interviews, when he talks about The Rookie, or when he was on about even like Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog.
Yeah.
Right. He'd be interviewed and be like, what's this, blah, blah, blah. Every time he'd go, it's not Firefly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, unlike Bring Back in the day when I went about Bring Back Kirk, blah, 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 I think if it was right, if the story was right, and it was done in the right way, Fillion would come back.
Yeah, Fillion makes enough money from voiceover work doing the Green Lantern and shit in DC movies. I'm sure he would. Honestly, I would like to think that if the right script was there, Fillion would do it regardless of fee. I really would like to think that if he holds it as high regard as what you're saying.
He adored working on it. I mean, to the point. I mean, the whole cast adored working on it. I mean, they had trailers. Like as actors do, they have trailers on the studio lots and stuff like that. Not one of them ever used their trailers. When they had breaks, they had it in that lounge outside the infirmary on the ship.
Oh, so they were buddies.
They absolutely loved it. And Fillion has always said when he's promoting anything or anything like that, it's not Firefly.
Oh.
And I think that for me, as big as a star as he is, I mean, look at the cultural impact that Mal Reynolds has had. I would say sometimes it's bigger than Kirk.
I've got a little Mal somewhere actually.
Yeah,
got tiny little Mal.
Nathan Drake from the Uncharted games.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, yeah, he just doesn't he.
That is literally inspired by Mal to the point where they gave him Nathan as the first name. And for ages I thought, my God, this is Nathan Fillion's voice. And it wasn't. But
it's really not. But they are friends. They are very good friends. He was in Alan Tudyk's Con Men, which Nathan plays a very exaggerated version of himself. I've just knocked everything. I can't think of his name though, but I love him. But they are very good friends.
Nolan North,
that's it.
Yeah. But Nathan
Fillion
played Drake in the Uncharted fan film, and that was brilliant.
Honestly, I can see him
so
playing
much. Yeah. If you ever have half an hour, right, Sammy, watch it.
Oh, I'll definitely watch. The Uncharted games are my favorite franchise.
Yeah, it's so good, and you sit there like if you've played from Uncharted 1 onwards, you're like, this is Nathan Fillion, this is Mal Reynolds, this is just Mal Reynolds hunting for art.
Yeah, absolutely. With Nolan North's voice.
and this little production team got Nathan Fillion to do a fan film.
Oh, excellent!
So the chance might get him on the podcast one day.
After you brought Kevin Smith on, we'll do some memes for Nathan Fillion to get him on as well.
That's a campaign we are running on Twitter as well to get Kevin Smith on this podcast. So if you are watching, please join us, Kevin.
Join us, Kevin.
Kevin.
For the greater good.
They're greater good.
But just to finish this off as well, because I think it'll be quite fitting to finish off the episode by talking about the final episode of Firefly and how it was quite poignant the way it was done. How all the cast and the story was that the ship was taken over by Early, the bounty hunter, and he was after River, and he'd basically taken over the ship, and he was a very good bounty hunter, but how the kind of almost like made River out to be like superhuman, and how she melded with the ship. It was just beautifully done, and honestly, it was like a switcheroo, but it was a good western and good done. So like pretty much as tale as old as time. Like any storyline, you could have guessed the twist, but it still had you in the pocket. And it was. I know we didn't get many, and we didn't get a lot, but what we got was pretty special.
Mm-hmm. It's just sad that it's sad you didn't get more. And not to sound like completely greedy, this should have been more.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just add the final words from the Serenity movie? And I think it's quite poignant for some people, especially at the moment. Some of the posts I see in the Facebook group. It's when Mal and River are in the cockpit and River's piloting the ship out the dry dock, and it's raining.
Mm-hmm.
And River goes, Storm seems to be getting worse. And Mal just goes, it'll pass.
Oh.
And that's it. And I think that, there'll always be stormy weather, but stormy weather always passes.
It always passes. Oh my God, that's such a lovely way to end the episode.
And I'll not spoil it because I love the speech beforehand when, like I say, they were talking about like what keeps it in the air. It's all about love. Love will get you through, and love will like keep you up when it shouldn't. So that was, like I say, them two little elements of it. Yours is like probably a little bit better than mine, but I'll give you that one.
That was beautiful.
Yes. So yes, the time's actually flown over, and I'm sorry, Sammy, for having you to sit through our love fest.
Honestly, I don't mind. We're not always going to love the same things, but it's lovely to hear. And I said this before in the Star Trek one, I love hearing people talk about what they love, and it gets me kind of like, oh yeah, I see where you're coming from. Maybe I will go back and rewatch it. And I'm like, I love it. I love people who love fandoms and love talking about it.
Well, watch it on Disney Plus because it is on the right order now. So they have
Well,
got it in the right order. So
it was freaking annoying, mind. It honestly was an absolute arseache trying to like find it, and like Ant's like trying to keep his cool and like still keep the hype up of we've got to watch this.
And it's also upscaled to 1080p. It's not remastered, but it is upscaled, so you do get a nice...
Oh, mate, I can bet I can't see out of one eye, so it really doesn't matter. Like, what kind of visual I'm looking at, as long as I can see it.
Are you saying that you're pirating it?
Well, to get the Goonies, if Sam's new name is One Eye Willie, so...
There you go. I'll take
Near
it.
The weekends.
Ha.
But yeah, so thank you again for joining us, Goodwill. Like I say, it's been a blast, and we'll have to clip your little song as well, so we'll get that little.
Yeah,
please don't. I'm sorry for my singing, everyone.
You were absolutely brilliant, the pair of yous, and we will get an episode where I can fan out with you over something, because there's been 2 episodes now where I've not been able to like fully fan out with Goodwill, and we have some good chats. So
that sounds like a chat all by itself. Fan out with Goodwill. Coming to
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Goodwill After Dark.
Oh dear, eh? The red hair diaries instead of the red shoe diaries.
Excellent. That's it. You've just coined it right there.
The gestures of goodwill.
So yeah, so thank you so much for everyone that's watched or something that will watch at a later date, because I know most of the people that do watch is out and being social. How dare they?
How dare you on a Sunday?
Yes.
We can't forget this is school holidays. Just to mention, Charlotte put in the chat. Did you see?
Yeah, I didn't want to mention.
Michelle Williams has passed away.
Yeah, a horror. Like so.
It's not on Google yet, because I did Google it and it's not there yet.
Unfortunately, she got diagnosed with, I believe it was dementia.
Oh, so sad. Well, rest in peace. May you fly high in the galaxy. I said that really sarcastically, didn't I? I really didn't mean to. Sorry. She's an icon.
Yes. She's, like I say, one of these trendsetters that changed everything that we know about and give.
She was an icon. In the
icon. Absolute icon.
She was considering leaving Star Trek, the original series, and she was persuaded to stay by Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, what
said that you are a symbol,
massive
for people, and she was a lovely. I met her. She came to Middlesbrough.
You met her.
She came to Middlesbrough to the Forbidden Planet store in Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
She came to a signing. Yeah, she came for a signing there.
Oh my God, Middlesbrough!
Yeah, about 20 years ago, she came for a signing there.
Poor woman.
And she was. I mean, most people who work in Star Trek are lovely. I mean, you get the odd dick for not mentioning any names, but she was one of the most down to earth and most loveliest people you will
that's so sweet.
Ever meet. So it is a huge loss.
Huge loss for the Star Trek community. But as Kevin Smith says quite frequently on Hollywood Babylon, big bucket of win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also, Charlotte's book club this month is Women in Comics.
Right.
I hijacked it.
Mhm.
We were very inspired by our talk with Holly is it Holly Golightly? Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Holly. Really inspired by Holly, and not just women in comics, like everything, every aspect of women in comics. That is this month's theme for the book club.
Do you want to mention Twitch?
Yeah, we have Twitch too, and these two Muppets play games on it.
I have Power Wash Simulator to play
Pervert.
with the lovely Jake, who is my Twitch brother, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remastered.
Excellent.
I know we are talking to do a team Among Us as well soon.
Yes.
Awesome. I will get back to some time with Jake to finish our Resident Evil game off. I feel that game needs to get finished.
It needs closure.
It needs closure, Goodwill. It really does. We need to know what happens.
I need to not play a game and just watch other people die for a change.
Yes.
Well, when you joined us the last time, it was so much fun. So we have to rearrange that again. That was really fun.
But it's really fun doing that with you guys. It's such a laugh.
As the Nerdy Up North brand keeps on growing and growing and growing.
And thank you to all of our new subscribers. Wowza, it's amazing. We're totally blown away by it. And all of our new people who joined the Facebook community.
Yes, and next week should be an interesting one. So we'll have to do some prep work on these ones. Top 5 spoof movies.
I cannot wait for this.
Why only 5? Come on, do an all-day podcast on that.
No,
that Goodwill.
I'm with Sammy.
Sam can only do 11 hours, don't worry.
For God's sake, man. I tell you what, next time we decide to do something along those lines, you can have the first hour off, and then I'll,
You know how that works.
To talk my way through it.
Me get angry
never say die.
Because I can't. I've only sat out of one podcast and I nearly broke us last time, so it's not going to happen anytime soon.
It was so funny. It wasn't. It was terrifying, but it was so funny. But yeah, you can find the podcast anywhere you search for your podcasts. We will be there. Also, if anyone uses iTunes, please, if you could, try and subscribe and give us a 5-star review. Even by subscribing, the algorithm picks it up and starts to put it into people's recommendations, so that would be a massive help.
Also, if anyone knows Kevin Smith or has any contacts with Kevin Smith, please get in touch. I need him on this podcast to tell him I love him.
Or Nathan Fillion, that would be even better.
We are going to stalk a lot of celebrities to try and get them on here and say we're doing. We've got the bug now. Like I say, having the amazing Holly and Jim Bennett that totally surprised us, and watching Charlotte just break down.
Charlotte just having utter breakdown in the nicest way possible was amazing. But we have got things in the works. We just want more. Basically, we want more.
I want Kevin.
But do you want him on the podcast as well?
I've offered services to get him on here.
As long as they're coming from you.
Snoochie boochies.
I thought it was a team project,
Team effort.
But yes, hashtag Charlotte's feet, hashtag Sammy's pants.
Oh yeah, I actually have some on today, by the way. Well done, me.
Well done,
Yay for pants. I don't. Oh, legs.
Before we go any further, so yes, same bad times,